And I think we'll be ready in just a second here. I got a little window that says "Burn 2 burners" on it for just a moment. We are live, and
We're live.
we're live. Yes, and let me just switch out to view our avatars in Second Life, and that's what we have right now. So now I'm using my camera and panning into us sitting down in your camp. And this is Super Sue's on the left. That's me. And on the right is Wizard Frog.
Wizard Frog.
Yes.
That'd be me.
And look at how gorgeous you are with your hat. And on top of your hat is another frog. There's another frog on top of your hat. That's the kind of detail that I love about you and your amazing avatar. And I think we should spend
All
a lot of time
details.
describing uh, your style in Second Life, and I would describe it as a style of a lot of detail. And you like to character role play. You do enjoy um, bringing others along in that role playing because, for example,
Definitely.
we've been on the playa before at one of the stages with about 6 frogs, maybe even like 10 at one
Oh
time.
yeah.
All of your
Yep.
friends have frog avatars
Oh,
as well.
it's a blast.
Yeah, they are a blast. They really are. And so I just want to, acknowledge that it takes a lot of work to create such a community of frogs.
Well, I
And
mean, it's funny how much of it kind of built itself. All I really had to do was put on the frog avatar and kind of play a little play a little role here and there, and everybody wanted to play
they all
along.
want it
So
in.
it's yeah, it's funny how much of it really required little effort on my part.
But you really are the real wizard frog, according to
The one and
your
only,
the
the
one.
real wizard frog.
and
At least
and
the only one that I know.
what are the mysteries of the wizard frog as part of the character as it just developed? Tell us some of the mysteries of the wizard frog.
Well, you know, the idea kind of just pops from just kind of like this mystical frog being that was here to kind of lift the people of Second Life into maybe a higher space or a more positive vibration. And yeah, so we go around kind of dancing and making weird frog sounds and making people laugh, and that's kind of the whole idea.
Looking at your sculpture, where did you find the frog Zen meditation sculpture? I mean, where would you find something like that? A frog, a Zen frog.
The Second Life marketplace is full of amazing things. You just have to dig for a while.
Oh my gosh, that's great! And now we're going. I'm panning in with my camera. We're actually exploring your camp right now as we're talking, which is great. And we're inside the dome. A very,
Yeah, the
very.
dome is it's kind of a if you have your advanced lighting on, I'm
Let me do
thinking that
that.
you probably do, but if you don't, the way that it's working is there's a projector underneath, so there's kind of a bunch of different layers of light reflecting on the inside of the dome.
Yeah, I think what I'm going to do is I'm going to go on standby for a second, fix my preferences to go super high res. Right now we're in one of the sims that is set up for build week because it's preparation for October burn at Burn 2, a week long burn, and the theme is Burning Man's theme for the year, which is the Great Unknown. And
Yes.
we're currently at Wizard Frog's plot or camp. The green lines square that you see around is for our placement team to help us get placed on the playa. And this is your square, so to speak, of playa that you can. That basically it's like buying a ticket to be placed. We're all paying for a part of the server expense to rent out these Sims. These are all on
Hmm.
servers with Second Life in Linden Labs in San Francisco somewhere. Who knows where exactly? And our characters, our virtual life, are all on a server somewhere out there, owned by a company or platform. And it does cost us money, so we're buying tickets in this form of plot sales to help us pay for the rentals of our 11 Sims altogether. So, yeah. And I'm going
And
to,
it's a great time.
yeah. And while I'm going to go from, I'm going to change my preferences in my viewer, so my act will change to nighttime. I think it would be really cool to show your camp at night. Tell us
Oh yeah.
about yourself a little bit more. Like, how long have you been in Second Life? And how did
Well,
you find
so
us, Burn 2? Yeah.
BURN2. So I've been in Second Life. What I just realized that a couple weeks ago. 15 years is the official date of my avatar. So it's been a while. But it's kind of I come in in waves, I guess you could say. There's periods in my life where I haven't really been as present on this game or metaverse as so I guess it's more appropriate to call it that. But the thing that really kind of brought me back recently was the obvious pandemic situation that we went through the past few years. And I found a lot of people that I used to know through Second Life had also come back, so it was kind of a nice little reunion the past few years, and kind of getting reacquainted with Second Life. And when I did return, I had this yearning to kind of find people and community. I just felt like there was more to Second Life than I was finding, and eventually kind of stumbled upon a few good music communities. And I don't really quite remember what it was. I think I just kind of maybe had heard or knew that there was a burn going on, and I just kind of stumbled in. And I think that was right during the virtual burn
Mm-hmm. I
that
think it
it
was a
was
little bit
last
before
year.
that. I think it was one of the
But sometime
weekends.
around that,
Yeah.
yeah. And I think there was an opening for a slot to DJ, and I took it. And I think that's when I had invited like as many frogs as I could, and we kind of just like took over that stage. But in the
Oh,
following
they were
month was
hilarious.
obviously Octoburn, and I was just really I loved the community, and I loved the interactivity of what I was seeing in
Mm.
the Burn 2 Sims. And so Octoburn was like a really fun way for me to give back in that regard of seeing how many people had put in so much work to create these experiences for people. I just wanted to be a part of it, and so
Yeah.
it was a really good decision.
What did you recognize that's different about Burn 2 than other communities? Some of them, your communities may be very similar because you're drawn to them, to
Mhm.
that. But overall, what do you think is different about our community or about Burn 2 and how we operate?
Well, I would say for me, the thing I really enjoy about Burn 2 as a community is that uh, the people are, people kind of will say that you're on the same wavelength. You already know that the people that are going to be in this area, are kind of on that same wavelength. But I appreciate that it's like a more like I said, interactive, I think is a good word, where you have these sims, when these events are going on, they're alive with people, and people are wandering and exploring and talking and meeting new people. And I found that right now, at least, I guess in Second Life, there's it's not that it lacks that, but there is a lot of separation So to
Mm.
bring a lot of people together in a space and kind of let people decide whether they want to interact or not, I think that's like really cool uh,
Mm.
dynamic.
Mm. Well, that's good to know. I like the part that what is made on the playa is made by the burners who are the participants, similar to what you
Mm-hmm.
find at Black Rock Desert. It's just a flat sim, so to speak,
Mm-hmm.
literally out there at Black Rock in Nevada. It's like a flat lake bed is
It's
like
like a sandbox.
is like a sandbox, and everything that's brought out there is brought out there by there's a few infrastructure things such as porta potties, and there's ice, a couple of ice camps, and
Mm-hmm.
there's some heavy equipment used for the artists and so on, and they have build week like we do, but a lot of it is structurally um, is the campers, the people, the burners that end up going, like the fact
Yeah.
that there's a post office, there's actually a couple of them, literally a post office camp where you can have your mail delivered to camps, by burners who
That's
go
so
around
fun.
and with with their bicycles, with the post office shirt, and that's their volunteer work, for
Yeah,
example.
that's the beautiful thing. It's you can give yourself a role and
Yeah, you can
nobody
give
will really
yourself a
question that.
role.
You can kind of just, assume that role and everybody will agree that that's your role.
Just like we were talking on the way at the start, trying to get everything set up, that I stumbled upon this particular week. I stumbled upon a dude who created this camp to interview people. And my thing this year for this burn was to have like 5 or 6 recorded interviews, like
Mhm.
yourself, like now. And I didn't even know that this guy was doing his thing. I'm like, oh my God, whose camp is this? And he's like, it's my camp. I'm like, oh my God, you're interviewing. Well, so am I. And we ended up trying to collaborate together. So I'm trying to encourage him, trying to help him where I can get everything started, because it takes a little while to get the channel, getting a channel or a podcast or whatever his thing is,
Sure.
and I
Yeah.
and then hopefully we'll be able to collaborate even more. But you can basically make yourself a role. That is so true. That
Hmm.
you can do that, and so if there's a niche for burners, somebody could just go ahead and, for the most part, with our support, a lot of times you don't even need that. You can do your own thing. So
Within a certain amount of reason, but
within a
yes.
certain amount of reason, there are some like guidelines, but yeah, that's the case with everybody. So everything.
That's why I assumed the frog camp. I saw that you guys didn't have that, so I put that for you.
I'm so happy you're right next to my camp. I have a build as well, and I'm just going to reveal my build
Oh
because,
yeah, I've been checking it out.
well, I'm kind of I call a scraper. I don't actually like to mesh 3D design. I like to learn, but it's a lot of training and learning, and I do a
Yeah.
little bit, a little bit, a little bit, but I'm not quite there. So I'm an assembler. And like
You know,
I
there is
assemble.
a certain magic to working with the old school prim system. I think
Yeah.
there's a lot of people that can't master that editing and all that stuff. So kudos for sticking with all that stuff because that's something I'm familiar with too. I used to
Yeah.
build, a long time ago when there wasn't mesh, so a lot of that. I can recognize all the work that you've put in there.
Do you see my eyeball? You can,
Yeah.
in Second Life, you can your avatar's eyeballs, your eyes can change. You can select eye color. So I actually took an eyeball that it was in my inventory, rested on the ground, and blew it up as it was the kind that I could modify. Made it a huge eyeball that's the all-seeing eye that's looking down onto the universe. That's my idea, and
That's perfect.
it worked. I was like, whoa, look at this. It looks so cool. I can throw up a few more things, and next thing you know, I have God looking down on his universe. Yeah, I'm not a very good builder. I'm more of an assembler. And let me tell you, the inventory can get quite large, right? Wiz, you can get a
Gosh,
huge inventory after a
too
while.
much.
Hmm.
Yeah, and I think that I have a lot in my inventory. Is probably, says 45,000 things are in here, but I know people that have, probably triple that easily.
Yeah, yeah, especially with the amount of time that you've been around. But you can't always take your inventory from one avatar to the other. So you may have had over the years even more than that.
Yeah, that's true.
Yeah. Now you're a performer in Second Life, so let's tell others who are thinking about live streaming in Second Life who have not made the jump like you. Um,
Hmm.
I don't know if you were a DJ or streaming before you had your
Yes, I was.
Oh, okay. So what I'm thinking is there's people who may end up looking at like from outside of Second Life, like burners from BlackRock and other regionals, who are
Hmm.
curious about us, and they may actually already have a DJ set up for their. They may have maybe DJ'd for their own camps, and or a sound camp and that sort of thing, or they're just amateurs at home messing around with a stream and trying to share that with the internet community. So, as a DJ, can you tell us about what it's like to make the setup for you? How hard was the transition? Where did you learn? And what do you recommend for someone who's getting started?
Well, transitioning honestly wasn't too hard. I'd say the if you already are familiar with DJing and stuff, you probably are familiar with all of the audio outputs and things like that on certain equipment. There are a few different softwares out there that you can use, but there's a good amount of information online to start streaming. But um, it's, I guess, I would say the more difficult thing about learning, especially with Second Life, is there is, when you're trying to DJ in Second Life, you kind of have to balance between using your DJ software and also kind of trying your best to stay engaged with the people, whether that's typing or however that works. But um, there, I guess, kind of rambling, but
No, you're fine.
transitioning really, I mean, if you're familiar with DJing, it's not too hard. But there's also, if you're not a DJ and you want to DJ,
Like you don't
Second
already have
Life
a
is a
stream, for example.
well, like, say that again.
Like you don't already have a stream. Let's say, for example, you don't already have your setup that's a DJ, a stream online, a live
Right.
internet stream.
Um, I guess, like, if you hadn't DJ'd before at all, even,
Okay,
so
even
I
like
would say Second Life is kind of it's almost like a cool way to get familiar with it because
mm-hmm,
the audiences are, for the most part, very just everybody's very excited to hear live music, whether or not it's played through a fancy DJ controller. Um, there's plenty of people who DJ in Second Life who don't use traditional DJ software. They use, like broadcasting tools and will still generate really huge
mm-hmm,
crowds. So if you
mm-hmm.
already are familiar with DJing, then you kind of already have a foot in the door because people, when they hear that something's being played live, it's kind of like adds to that, excitement, I guess.
Mm-hmm. And there's people who do live mixing, and then also people who just like to play a curated list of music.
Mhm.
Um, which one do you consider yourself? I almost wonder. I think maybe you are doing some live mixing, isn't that right?
Every set that I've done in Second Life is live mixed. There are some sets where the playlist itself I have, planned out a little bit ahead of time, but
Mm-hmm.
most of the time I am going just kind of on the fly. That's the easiest way for me to do it because, in my experience, like when I'm DJing and I am playing a song and maybe I have an idea that I had lined up earlier, sometimes in that moment that just doesn't feel right to me anymore. So it's a lot easier for me to just find something else that I can kind of think in my head, okay, there's a select amount of songs that I could pick from that would go with this. but
Hmm.
yeah.
And some of them are your mixes, like you're playing over other music, or you're pretty much literally producing the music with.
I'm not playing. I'm not producing the music live. No, that
Uh,
that would be a whole different ballpark. But
it is,
there
yeah.
are definitely some of my own productions mixed in with some of my shows. But
Oh,
I don't nearly have that much music to play like a set, very frequently that has all of my music in it.
yeah. It takes a long
Um,
time to do that,
yeah,
you
you got to
know,
have quite the library, which
and time.
I've got a few songs, but
Hmm.
it's yeah,
You don't need that
I
really.
prefer to dig for music and kind of just find new stuff and interesting tracks that
Yeah, I often when
maybe
I'm listening
people
to
aren't
your
really
set.
exposed to on Second Life as much.
Exactly. When I'm listening to your set, I'm like, where does he get this? I constantly say that. Where's his secret mystery wizard frog mystery place on the internet where he's able to land this great collection of music? It just all seems to go so well together.
Well,
Yeah.
that's what's been like really rewarding about I think Second Life as a community to play music for is that there's a kind of uh, a wonder for it, if you will. Like there, people are kind of wowed by some of the music that I present, to which to me, it's maybe it's normal, and maybe to some of my friends in real life, it might be what they normally listen to. But it's fun, kind of
Mm-hmm.
broadcasting music to people who maybe just wouldn't have necessarily
Sure.
dove into that kind of genre before.
Do you sometimes blend your? You often invite your friends from real life to come and check out your wizard frog. Um,
I've gotten a couple too. Yeah, it can be hard. Second Life is really kind of a entity that people have a certain view of. And not everybody has a computer that will run it too.
right,
But there's been
got to
a
be
couple
quote
of
unquote
friends that
game for something like this. Yeah.
yes, but there's been a couple friends that have come and checked it out, and that's always been fun because it's like a celebrity appearance. It's kind of like hey guys, here's my real life friend to check the music out. And
Yeah.
it's always fun for my friends to see it too, because they're like, wow, where all these people come from.
Yeah, it's really fun for me when I end up having a chance to do that. Like if I have someone over for dinner and it happens to be something that I would, and I talk about it and they're like, "What is this anyway?" And I say, "Well, let's turn on the computer and I'll show you on my screen." And they're usually, "Whoa," in the back of,
Yeah,
and it's really fun to do that kind of thing. Yeah.
totally.
Then
I love showing off my builds to some of my friends and family, just because it's,
yeah.
to me, I take a lot of pride in some of the creative things I do with building, and so it's just a fun thing to share like
You
that.
should
I
be.
kind
It's
of
just a
like,
beautiful build. It's
well,
gorgeous.
thank
You
you.
got all top of the line stuff if that's what you did. Some of this you made, I know, but or put together, but it's really nice.
Yeah, I would say, I'm kind of like what you said. I'm not necessarily making all these models, but I'm assembling it all together. So,
Well, that's a lot of
uh,
us that do that.
designer, if you will, maybe.
Yeah, designer, exactly, designer of space,
But I
and
try to
then
mix in a little bit of my own work, or at least textures and things like that. Like for instance, the projectors that are going on inside the dome, and
yeah.
the logo with the infinity is something that I designed like years ago. It's just kind
Oh
of like
yeah, we're
a
looking at
little
it right
badge I
now.
like to put on everything.
Yeah, and that's sort of like your character building, isn't it? Which you
Hmm.
really enjoy. Yeah,
Yes, totally.
and
Yeah, the wizard frog thing is kind of it, it kind of came from just a need for like an avatar that was cheap, and this one was probably less than $1
oh, but
in
this,
in
but
real life.
the all the accessories. That's what all of your frog friends have these amazing. They like to have all kinds of accessories when they're out, and
Well,
I've
there's not really a
seen
lot of clothes that fit the frog,
I've
so
seen
you have to get the accessories.
I
Yeah.
have seen some adult toy accessories on your frogs. Um, there's some kind of a frog that if you have some of their I don't know what we would call it, the juice of the frog,
The
you can get
swamp
you can
juice.
yeah you can get I think there's some kind of a little bit of a toxin that if you take just enough gives you a sort of like a drug high or something like that. I've read it somewhere online, and one
Yeah,
of
people
your
like to play into
yeah
that.
one of the
So I kind of, egg it on.
there's sort of like a button that you can press on the hat sometimes, and as you're and you entice everyone to press the hat button, and
It's interesting.
as they do, I think what happens again? Uh,
Well, let's see if we can put this on. Maybe you'll be able to see for yourself. If you click my head, some little frog should pop out.
okay, I'm gonna click it. I'm clicking it. Let's see. Oh, here we go. Yes, and the scripting of Second Life. That's so cool. And then you can't see it because I've turned off all of my chat boxes. But in local chat, we call it. It's the where everyone can see it within a certain distance box. There's something it says too, and I don't
It
actually
says
remember.
Super Suze likes the wizard frog.
Yeah, so that's
It's kind
great.
of the maybe the lore behind Wizard Frog is everybody licks the wizard frog and goes on a psychedelic music journey.
Yeah, yeah. And I like how you often will say you'll have a little story or something or motivation in between the songs. That's fun too.
Yeah, well, it was a unique way because for my setup, I just didn't really have a proper microphone, and I wanted to be able to address specific things and kind of keep people involved, keep people like kind of perked up and listening.
Yeah.
So I devised this text to speech thing, which it's kind of funny for me because I think if people listen to this, they'll probably be like, "Oh, he's not a British robot,"
That's
like
what
you
I
were
thought you were
saying
British.
earlier.
I thought you were British because your voice is British in your show.
But
Uh,
it was just kind of I did it on a whim one night, and everybody thought it was the greatest thing ever. So I really kept going with it to great lengths for some of my shows, and
yeah.
it
That's
kind of just stuck. So I
so
it's
you
been
like
a
to read your
signature.
audience. Yeah. And what's working. Um,
Oh, totally.
so you do have a couple of communities that you enjoy. We're one of them, and others. And you have pics on your profile that others can look at if they wanted to see some of these other places that you recommend. Or
Hmm.
certainly, I'm hoping BURN2's on there somewhere. But if that's okay, if it's not, but
I think it is, or at least there is some kind of burn.
yeah,
Maybe not. I'd have to look through here.
we on Second Life can create profiles, and our profiles get a Pix tab, PICKS, and so we can put up to a certain number of pictures, and included in could be a landmark for each one of the pictures if we want to include that to say, like for example, this is where this picture was taken, for example, and I recommend it is what the is usually the case. And then there's a spot for just free form description. And then there's even a spot for what's called First Life, where you can leave a photograph or some kind of something about the other part of your life if you want. A lot of people decide to leave that separate, but some do fill it
it's a
out.
it's a very taboo tab in
It's a
Second Life.
taboo. Yeah. Mine has a picture of me because I'm an open book. But
Which I like that. It's bold, Some
yeah,
people, but everybody's different.
I don't see why not. I just don't understand why not. I can't seem to change my avatar since this is what it looked like when I first started, and I think it was 2012 or something like that. And everyone's going mash, but I just can't get myself to do it. Maybe I will soon, but
Well, you have no fear of the unknown.
oh,
That's for sure.
that or yeah, I have no change. I can't seem to change my avatar. Fear of change.
Well,
Uh,
to get back to the picks, I there's a couple in here. I know that one of the other places I've really enjoyed is Organica, and I'm sure that you've probably heard of that or maybe
mhm.
been there. But they're a really great music community.
They
Um,
often have a sound camp at our events.
mhm.
Yeah, and they've been
Lots of
uh,
really awesome
they've been
DJs and
been around a long, long time, very long time, and
mhm.
so their community is quite large. Yeah, and it,
They definitely a lot of the people involved there kind of maybe not directly, but maybe indirectly kind of inspired me to get started again with DJing and Second Life. I was definitely very inspired by them. So
oh, good. And so, what's it been
kudos to
like for
that
you?
community too.
You have the choice of going back into it's things are opening up now. Do you think you're going to stick around and still enjoy what you've developed for a little bit
Uh,
longer?
it's hard to say. You know, the landscape of Second Life changes so frequently. People come and go,
Mm.
just like real life, and so
Well, some of these
the community
communities,
of yesterday maybe is different than today. But that
yeah,
it'll depend. But I don't think I'll ever forget Second Life as a DJ Frontier, especially for things like Burn 2, where I we're
yeah.
definitely trying to make the time to come and do this because it was a really important and cool part of my year last year for sure.
Well, I feel like my experience with BURN2, which is the one community that I spend most of my time with, there's a lot of core people that I've known ever since the very first year that I ended up checking out this community. So there's a lot
Hmm.
of consistency in the community. And yes, we have just like even a Black Rock, Burning Man, you'll have a crew of people that come every year or come often enough to where you you can they feel reliable that you'll expect them, so to speak, until you don't.
Sure.
But right, so and I do get that sense at Burn 2. It's the same. There's a core set of people that are very reliable and that regularly participate. And I'm sure it's
Yeah.
the same with some of your other communities here too. Now, do you camp with a regional, or do you go to Black Rock City, or this is what you would consider
Well,
your regional?
this has really been the only burn that I've participated in. I would say
Your
I'm
camp looks
familiar
really
with.
authentic in a lot of ways. I thought this guy's a burner for sure.
Well,
He even has
I
cars parked in the back.
I will say I'm definitely I've been to a lot of different music festivals, and so that's kind of where this
Okay,
a lot of imagery
a lot
comes
of
from is
influence.
like stages and things that I've seen at festivals that I've really enjoyed, and
Yeah,
I really like the presentation of a stage and how you can kind of create like an altar
oh
around
yeah,
it, or
yeah.
it just is a it's an important part of that whole experience. So you want to make it memorable, and that's something that I find a lot of I just find it fun to create these things in Second Life because it's easy and
And
quick.
what's great, like a burner in a regional, like any other regional, these stages are not made by stage production for the event. They're made by burners. They're made by like a pre build crew that comes in, and then all of the campers get to come in on the first day and start camping and experience what they produced for everybody.
Hmm.
In this case, what we make is what we experience. So that to me is one of the biggest differences too, from like a music fest to what you get
Yes,
at a burner
definitely.
regional.
Yeah, and I've definitely had my eyes on Burning Man, but it's there's a few hurdles that I've got to get over. I've got to travel from New York and get a ticket and all that. But maybe someday.
Oh,
But
you
for
should.
now, this will do.
They do have a regional, big one or two, and they have a lot of camps that do fundraising. For example, Costume Cult. Costume Cult is out of New York with a K,
Okay.
two Ks, and they are a big Esplanade camp that brings huge trailers of costumery out to the Playa from New York, along with a whole bunch of great art cars and a bunch of New Yorkers who end up camping with the costume cult as well as other people. And they're not all New Yorkers, and they gift costumes on the playa. So
Hmm.
if you ever have a chance to look it up, it's great. They have like 3 or 4 big events in New York as fundraisers to help pay for this and to offset the costs of the trucking and the whatever they've got going on, the production of creating a huge Esplanade camp is supposed to be very, like this one here, very exciting and great to visit. So, yeah, Costume Cult, they have costume balls in New York
Cool.
that are supposed to be really great. And if I ever wanted to go to New York, I'd want to time it right so I could go to one of their events. They look so good
I'll
and
have to
such
look
great
into that.
people. Yeah. You have to look into that one. But I think we've reached the end of our time. I know that it's late for you. I wonder if there's anything else you'd like to talk about before we finish up. I'm trying to think if I covered everything I
Um,
wanted to cover. Let me take a look at my notes here.
yeah, I don't think.
Oh, I know
I
one.
think we. Oh, go ahead.
What's your events happening here at your camp? So you're probably going to have some events. I know that if anyone wanted to come out to where we're at, what's the name of our sim that is
We're in the Borderland sim.
Borderland? Okay, that's the name of the sim box that we're in.
Yeah,
But I see that you have events and info. Your signage in the front.
not quite up yet, but
Yeah.
so I don't really have a set schedule this year.
Okay.
Excuse me, but
It's
the
happenstance all the way.
I think the plan this year is to kind of just go with the flow and keep the stage a little open and see what
Well,
happens.
I'm so glad you're right next door to me, so I can just pop in and catch it at the right
Yeah,
moment. The right
and
scene.
I would say if you're here, definitely keep an eye on the board because I will put something up there, maybe
Mm,
spontaneously, just to
I
give
think I
notice. So it's
will.
not it, you don't have to show up at that minute, but
I heard word
um,
that our comms department is trying to make a who, what, where guide, which is sort of like everyone can put their events into one place that is then a clearinghouse of events for that day
mhm,
for not only the stages but also within the camps. So, yeah, be on the lookout for a notice if that's happening. We'll let everybody know. I hope that
for
happens.
sure.
Yeah. So I guess that's good for now. I hope we're gonna have people come check us out in the corner, in the back corner here.
They'll
We're at the
wander
end of the
over. They
road.
always do, you
Yeah.
know.
And you can take an art car. Just drive your art car to the end of the road in Borderlands, and
Yeah,
you'll catch us. Thank you so much for spending the time.
yeah. Thank you for inviting me.
I
It's
look
been a
forward
pleasure.
to hanging out with you frogs later on and during our Octoburn, the Great
Oh
Unknown.
yes, we're gonna get very froggy over here.
Okay, cool. All right. Well, I'm going to end the stream for now, and we'll catch you later.
All right.
Okay.
Bye bye.
Bye.